In this video, we will look at what null themes are. We'll also look at the good side and the bad side of using null themes, and that's the pros and cons of null themes or null scripts. You can also call these things nulled or cracked softwares. After that, we'll look at GPL license, which stands for General Public License. And finally, we'll look at whether or not we should use these themes. Let's find out. Let's find out what null themes are. Null theme can also be called null script or null software. These are softwares, or these are paid softwares that have been cracked or pirated, making them available for free. There's a keyword in the definition, and that is cracked. Cracked? Okay, so what is a cracked software? Any software that has been modified to remove all the official branding and distributed for free is a cracked software. So this is the process of removing the protection of a software, and this is how we get paid softwares for free. So it's through a process called cracking. I haven't looked at the definition of null or cracked softwares. It's then time we look at the pros and cons of using null softwares. The very first and obvious advantage of using a null software is cost savings. All right, because they are free, we will save money. Most of us don't want to pay money to get softwares, and that's why we opt in for cracked version of softwares. This can be tempting sometimes because no one likes spending, and that's why people opt in for null softwares. The next advantage is for testing purposes or for developmental purposes. Thanks to null softwares, we are able to test the features of a software before making purchasing decision. And that's the second reason for opting in for what? Null softwares. On the other side, null scripts have a lot of disadvantages. So let's look at some of the cons of using null softwares or null themes. The very first disadvantage is security risk. These free softwares, in quote, null softwares, usually come with what we call malware, which is a piece of code injected into the software to perform several bad acts. Let me give you some of them. Now, since these softwares are cracked, and cracking requires a modification of the code, the cracker, that's the one cracking the software, ends up inserting what we call a malware in the software to perform certain acts. One of them is stealing people's credit card details from your website if you're using it to build a website. So that's the very first advantage. Risk issues. Another activity a malware can perform on your website is stealing your database from your website. Okay. Another activity a malware can perform on your site is mining cryptocurrency. A cracker can intentionally insert a piece of code that generates or that mines cryptocurrency using your server resources, making your website perform poorly or slow. My friends, have you ever wondered why these softwares are free? That question is left onto you to answer. The second big disadvantage of using nulled or cracked softwares is that you have no support and updates from the original developer. Let's first understand what software updates is. First, software updates is very important because it helps us patch what we call security loopholes. Sometimes your website may have what we call security issues and requires an update or immediate update to fix those issues fast. That's why an update is released, or that's why updates are released from the developer. But those who use null scripts do not have access to these updates, leaving your website vulnerable on the internet for hackers to compromise your site. We have looked at what null softwares are. We have also talked about the pros and cons of using null softwares. Let's look at what GPL stands for. GPL stands for General Public License. It's a series of widely used free software license. This license was designed to make sure that you have the freedom to distribute copies of free softwares. Now the problem is most of these softwares are licensed under the GPL. That's why you can pick a software, change the source code of the software and make it yours. And that's why these null scripts exist. This is to say that you can buy a script, modify the source code and sell it. Yes, you can do that. And that's why there are several websites out there that sell these nulled scripts. But the problem here is once you make a software nulled, you are on your own. You don't have that full support, not even full, you don't have support from the original developers. Also, updates, you are not part of those feature updates, making your software vulnerable. So that's the only issue with null scripts. You don't have support, updates, you don't have it, and what have you. Now the question is, should we use these null softwares or null scripts? Well, it depends. If you're a developer and you know you can be on your own, updating your own software without depending or relying on the original developer, why not? You can pick a software, crack it, and use it. But there are consequences, and I've already mentioned those consequences. But those of you who know nothing about programming should not venture into this. If you're also using it for testing or developmental purposes, there's no problem. What I don't want you to do is go online, download these scripts, and use them on a productive site, because they have these loopholes that you can make your website vulnerable online to hackers. So that's the only problem I have with these null softwares. I will not use these softwares personally on my productive website. Never. Because I'm going to end up having my website hacked. So in my next video, those of you who want to download these null softwares for testing purposes and other reasons, I'll be giving you a list of websites where you can get null scripts at affordable price. And I think that option is a little bit better than downloading free softwares, because there are some sites that you have to pay membership to get these scripts, and because we are paying for their services, I don't think they will have the mind of, or they will have evil mind putting or injecting malware onto those softwares. So I think that is a little bit better than downloading completely free softwares from the net, using it to build websites. But that doesn't mean they are still safe to use. Okay, I said it's a little bit better. Keep an eye on the channel, as I'll be releasing video on that same topic, where to get these scripts. I hope this video has helped you understand what null scripts are. It has also helped you understand the pros and cons of using null softwares. Until then, stay blessed.